Stephen Thomas with Reports on Housing coming to you live Thursday afternoon, 3 o'clock, last Thursday of August. Hard to believe we're going to be, kids are back in school. We're in September. Not that much left as far as summer is concerned. Wow, man, goes by. Time goes by when you're having a lot of fun. Anyway, I'm just going to get right into it. Let's dive right in. Oops. There we are. So I'm inviting everybody to go to YouTube and go ahead and like and subscribe to get those YouTube algorithms up so that I can get the word out there on, I'm a housing analyst with Reports on Housing. This is what I do. This is the only thing I do. I do not have a certain narrative that I'm driving after. I'm really trying to bring home the data, stats, and everything that I know so that you could properly make decisions. So like and subscribe so that the YouTube algorithms will go crazy and this will get in front of more people. This is not about clicks for me. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into a couple of funny slides. This is the definition of I got a guy. When you've been around the real estate industry as long as I have and you hear somebody goes, yeah, I got a guy that can help it, or even if the homeowner oftentimes does it, this is what you end up with. Or you never realize how weird you are until you have a kid that acts just like you. And I know I'm weird because I have some goofy children. But housing prices will not dive. And oh my gosh, boy, you put this out there on social media and all over the place and sent this out, and the bears came out. The bears came out like crazy, especially on Twitter. They were going nuts. They had a real hard time with this. And that's because a lot of them have this constant take. And it's not just the bears, it's people within the real estate industry. Even real estate agents are having a hard time with this. It reminds me, it's very reminiscent of when we first went into the pandemic. There were a lot of bears talking about how values are going to plunge. And I went back to talking about, like, let's take a look at where supply is. Let's take a look at the number of homes that are coming on the market. Yes, demand is low, but look at what it's put up against. Very, very similar. So the bears are out and they're still saying values are going to plunge, or they have already plunged, as I just received an email from somebody. This will be a generational drop in home values, like as if it needs to happen every generation. And this is it. I can point to when that happened in the past, and pretty much it's when the real estate industry causes these generational collapses in prices, as if back in 2008, that wasn't a generational, and that's still the same generation just about. So this generational drop in home values, don't understand that. I got a lot of those arguments, and it will be worse than 2008. Heard this quite a bit as well, and I've done plenty of YouTube videos regarding the differences between now and 2008. And it's like as if so many people are hoping and wishing that this is what is going to happen because, and I understand where some of it's coming from. Some of it is extremely valid because we had values go up so fast that it's left a lot of people behind. So from that, you get a lot of people that are hoping and wishing that it does come down, it does plunge, but I just don't see it. And a lot of people say that I'm a real estate cheerleader. That's actually not necessarily correct. The number of subscriptions that I have when the market actually turns goes way up. So I just want to, be a little bit like Vince Scully, the late Vince Scully, absolutely fantastic Dodger announcer who just passed away this month. And you know what? He was able to call the play-by-play and bring a lot of color along with it. But you could always rely on Vince Scully. And that's how I want to drive what I'm doing in economics land. I want to be a lot like Vince Scully. And boy, when his passing, it made me really think, man, I really do want to do that. So that's what I'm trying to do. I want to properly set out everybody's expectations. I have a big heart, and that's what it's about. And even if the market were to implode, which I was here during the Great Recession, and I called the Great Recession everything else. And let me talk about the Great Recession. So I have been doing only Orange County that goes back to 2004. I do have other indexes that I'm able to see unsold inventory and things like that from CAR that go back decades. But this is actual number of available homes versus the last 30-day snapshot of pending sales or new escrow activity, new contracts. So if I take a look at that, there was a big difference, and I started to see it in 2005. There was all of a sudden way more homes and it was spiking up, and you compare, and then demand was dropping. That dark blue is demand. The light blue is supply. So when you start to see this increase, the supply versus demand, and that's where there's an imbalance. Started in the fall of 2005. I could see it coming. Then we got to 2006 and we got up to 16,000 homes in Orange County, and which is quite a bit. And you could see the difference between where demand is and inventory. There definitely was an imbalance. There was a glut of homes on the market. Then flash forward to 2007, and that was where there was 18,000 homes. You could see on the right hand side, this is today, where there's just not enough imbalance, not enough homes, not a glut of homes, where it forces people to make decisions that they have to make in order to get their home sold. And back then, also during the Great Recession, we had the banks running the table. They were controlling transactions from foreclosures to short sales, and they were a big piece of the marketplace. That's not what exists today. It's regular, good old-fashioned homeowners. And you could see what happened with the expected market time. When you have way too many homes on the market, and you have light demand, where there's that imbalance, that is where expected market times grow longer. Expected market time is you place your home on the market, when are you opening up escrow? And you can see over here, this was earlier in 2005. So in 2004 and 2005, we had a really, really low inventory, and demand was hot. So what it created is something that we have only experienced a few times since, in 2013, and then in 2020, at the end of 2020, 2021, and the start of 2022, where we had an insane marketplace with an expected market time less than 40. Well, that grew in 2005. And it grew all the way to the point where there was an imbalance. And then by the time we got to 2006, we had an expected market time for the entire county of 200 plus days. And then in 2007, it grew to over 400-day expected market time. And then it got down to 150, and that's when the banks were making things move a little bit. There was also these first-time home buyer tax credits that they did, a couple of those that helped in bringing up demand and eating into supply. And this is where we are today. It's at a 65-day expected market time. And if you draw a line across, you can see we've had markets where we've had market times that were way higher than this. And right now, the expected market time, this slowdown, because we were down to, in Orange County, down to 18 days. It's grown to 65 days and has since actually come down a little bit. This rise in the expected market time has stopped. This slowdown in the housing market has stopped here in Southern California, and it's happening across the country as well. But here's what happens. When we have this shift in the marketplace, and there's a lot of negativity around recessions, around bubbles, around crashes, around caving home values and housing recessions, you know what? That breeds a lot of fear. And as a result, when you have fear, it's like, what is lingering around the corner? And Penn State did a study, and that's where they found that 8% of everything that you worry about actually comes to fruition. So everything that we worry about doesn't necessarily really happen. We worry a lot more than what actually happens in life. So that was a study that they did. And I'm just going to geek out in the numbers now and talk a little bit about supply and demand. I know some people out there just absolutely can't stand the fact that I talk about supply and demand, but really supply is this crystal ball as to where we are right now and where we are headed. And for goodness sake, I wish we had twice the supply we had right now, so there would be a more balance to the market. I'm sure everybody out in the real estate industry would absolutely agree with me. this is the difference between supply and demand in Southern California. And in Southern California, you can see there is a gap now between the number of homes available and where demand's at. Well, that gap puts it right at that little over 60-day expected market time. And you can see over here, I'm pointing to right where at May, where prior to May, we actually had demand was higher than the inventory, so which meant that we had an expected market time of less than a month, which is just absolutely insane. And it was like that almost all in 2021, right around the end of 2021, it got to where there's a few more homes compared to demand. But that changed in May, and now we have a lot more homes on the market. But now the disparity, that's this area right here. That's that 2021 to right around May of this year. And this, where we are right now, this difference between supply and demand is identical to where we were in 2017, this difference in supply and demand. And keep in mind, from 2012 all the way until this year, the market has been in an expansion mode. It's been expanding and it's continued to go up in value. And this is comparing it to 2017, which was a decent year for real estate. Now, this was 2019, the difference between where inventory is to where demand was. You could see it was a lot larger, and that had that was actually 2019. That was a carryover from 2018, and that's because we had more homes come on the market that sat and did not sell, and they accumulated on the market. Now, this is 2018, and this was towards the end of 2018. When we got to November, the disparity got gigantic, and that's when we had interest rates at 5%. The big difference today is that we have fewer homes coming on. We had a normal number of homes coming on the market back then, and because they had so many homes still coming on the market, they accumulated on the market and created excess inventory compared to demand, and it became a little bit more lopsided than where we are today. And you can go back in time, and this is 2016. That's larger than now. This is 2015. This is 2014, and even in 2013, that's larger than where we are now when I drilled back to October of 2013. So the discrepancy was even larger. So what's going on right now in housing is we're peaking out, and Southern California has peaked. Not all the rest of the country has peaked, but it too is peaking out according to some national data aggregators like Altos Research. And demand has hit a cruising altitude. Demand was dropping, but then it's hit this cruising altitude. It should go down slightly for the rest of the year, but same thing with inventory. It should go down. So the market is not really changing right now. Oh, and my sponsor. Want to thank Jason Thibodeau from JMJ Financial. You can contact him at 714-330-8263. And they have this earnest money deposit insurance program where you can, there's a small fee that you have to, well, it's not a small fee, but it's $1,995 to insure up to 5% of $50,000 of earnest money deposit that you can get it back, and you get this money back after the loan funds. So this is just an insurance policy that makes sure that you get your earnest money deposit back. They also have a lock and shop thing where you put some money up front and you can shop for anywhere from 90 to 120 days. If you see that the environment is where interest rates are coming up, you might want to lock and shop. So they have that as well. And they have a 2-1 buy down mortgage program. This is, if you don't want to do a price reduction, you're a seller, offer this. We're going to buy down the buyer's interest rate for the first couple of years. And you can see what that does the payment wise. It makes it nice and attractive when you have a mortgage interest rate in the 3s for the first year, and then in the 4s for the second year. So that's something else that they have, and it's rather than do a giant price reduction, you could do something like this. It's just taking that price, taking a dollar amount and putting it up front to buy down that interest rate for a while. So their methodology is simple. We don't make promises we can't keep. And you can contact Jason Thibodeau at JMJ Financial at 714-330-8263. That's 714-330-8263. Now back to the program. Supply. Now, the inventory in Southern California, it was one of those things where it appeared as if we had hit that peak, and we had hit the peak in some Southern California markets. On August 18th, we were at 31,135, and in the 2 weeks prior, in looking at it from at the beginning of August to August 18th, we actually went down 34 homes. That's that peak that I was referring to. So it was the first drop of the year that we had. And then last year we had 20,643 homes on the market during this time of the year, which is about 10,500 fewer, 34% less. Know that was an all-time low. And right now where we're sitting above 2021 and above 2020 for all of Southern California, but not all markets. Like Orange County, for one, is below 2020 numbers as far as inventory is concerned. The 3-year average is 41,318. That is 33% higher, or an extra 10,000 homes. So yes, last year we had 10,000 fewer, but the 3-year average prior to COVID is 10,000 more homes. You can see that is just prior when the market was more. It was a seller's market, but it was a more normal market. I snapped the numbers today, like I always do, and we're at 30,609, which is 2% less, or 526 fewer from last Thursday. So here we are a week later, and we are down another 526. This shows that it's definitely peaked and it's starting to come down. And this is typically where a market peaks, between July and the 3rd week of August. And that's kind of what's happened again here. I was hoping that we'd peak later on in this year so that we can get more inventory, so that we can have even more balance to the market. But unfortunately, there's not enough homes coming on the market, and that's eating into the potential increase in the inventory by having fewer homes available. So, and it's significant, and we'll get into that. But where are we going to go from here? Inventory is going to continue to slowly drop until we get to Thanksgiving, and then it will drop like it always does at the end of the year, every single year. And the inventory from last week to this week in various markets, LA is down 126, or down 1%. Orange County is down 149, or down 4% in the last week. Riverside is down 92, or down 1.5%. San Bernardino down 33 homes, down 1% from last week. San Diego down 126 and down 3%. And Ventura's down 40 homes, down 2%. Everybody is making their way down. Looks like we have established that peak for 2022. Now, as far as demand is concerned, there is something that I do have a little concern with. Everybody has this concern with. There's some people that have this idea that interest rates are going to get way out of hand. But and as a result of this uncertainty in the market right now, and I'll explain this in a second, we're at a 5.81% mortgage rate as of today. 5.81%. It's down a little bit from yesterday. And this is taken from Mortgage News Daily, which does daily rates across the country. The last time we were this high, other than this year, we were here a little bit ago, but in November of 2008 was the last time that we were here. So we're not used to these higher rates. We're making our way back towards 6%. And the reason that this is happening is because the Federal Reserve, and you could see in this, it's happened over the last 10 days. This has slowly but surely climbed from 5.25% all the way up to 5.81%. And what's happened is that everything has slowed down as far as people wanting to invest in long-term debt, like 10-year bonds and 30-year mortgages. That's what everybody relies on in real estate land. The Federal Reserve is meeting in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and they're going to have a speech tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern time, which is 7 a.m. our time. You can be guaranteed I will be listening to it. And this is what they're waiting for. They kind of want to get further guidance as to where they're going to be going from here. So they want to know, okay, we've got to hear, we want to see if there's any changes or if it's just going to be status quo. They're going to get a lot from what comes out in that speech, and they're going to kind of understand it. Then they're also waiting for what happens with this next inflation read, which is coming out next month. The combination of the two, and you're going to get this new idea of where things are headed in the future, and then where interest rates will settle. Because they definitely, everybody around the world, it's not just the United States, but especially the Federal Reserve wants to get a handle on inflation, and they're doing everything in their power, and they're moving quickly and doing everything. So as far as exactly where we're going to end up as far as inflation is concerned, I just listened to a whole bunch of Federal Reserve presidents of the different areas speak on CNBC today. It was fantastic listening to one after another. And you know what? they don't really know where things are going to completely go because they don't know how this inflation story is going to unfold. So they're being very, very cautious and careful. And they got to see, yes, it was great to see that one inflation read, but that's only one. They want to see this come down further, and they want to see that this continues the momentum. So you could see that I told you how the mortgage rates have come up. The 10-year Treasury has been bouncing right at about 3%. And it's been going up over the last 10 days. And now it's kind of holding right at that 3%. It's waiting to see what's happening after the Federal Reserve's talks. Know that 3% is kind of a lid that's been there for a long time. And I'm anticipating that this will start to come down as the economy slows down further. And it's not just a housing recession. By the way, a housing recession doesn't mean values are going down. That just means we're doing far fewer units and everybody's making a lot less money that is in the housing arena. As soon as we see a bigger economic slowdown across the board and it start to affect jobs and we see unemployment rise, at that point, you're going to see the 10-year Treasury start to fall. And that's where interest rates can get better by end of year. We could be in the fours, but we'll have to wait and see. As far as Southern California demand is concerned, this is a snapshot of the last 30 days worth of pending activity. Just the last 30 days worth of buyers and sellers that come together in a contract. So I'm not looking at everybody in contract, just the last 30 days. And I do understand that people fall out, but I'm looking at the same metric over time. And August 18th, we were at 12,582. That was actually up 2%. So it continues to go up at a very slight rate, but still it shows that demand has come down to these new interest rate levels and now has adjusted, and this is where it's at. Definitely muted, being pit up against muted inventory. Last year, we were at 18,717. That's 49% higher than where we are today. That's 6,135 extra pending sales. The 3-year average is 16,474, which is 31% higher than where we are today. So pre-COVID, we had more homes on the market and we had demand that was higher. So that's why it's a very similar flavor. It's just, yes, we have muted inventory and muted demand. Now, today we're at 12,777. That's up 1.5%, up an additional 195 pending sales. This up thing is probably going to end soon. And instead, it's going to slightly go down until we get to Thanksgiving, and then it will plunge at the end of the year, just like the inventory plunges at the end of the year. So the general speed of the market is this. On March 17th, we were at this unbelievably hot 24-day expected market time. The hottest market of all of Southern California was San Diego at an 18-day expected market time. And August 18th was at 74 days. So last week we were at 74 days. It actually was at 76 days at the start of August. It got a little bit hotter, just slightly, but went from 76 to 74 days, down 2 days. Last year at this time, we were at 33 days, exceptionally hotter than where we are today. And the 3-year average prior to COVID, 2017 through 19, 76 days. Today, taking in together supply and today's demand reading, we're at a 72-day expected market time, coming down another 2 days. So it's slightly improved. So at the beginning of the month, we were at 76. Now we're at 72 days. So not a big difference, but you can see it got a little bit hotter. And it's still lining up slightly in favor of the sellers. And as far as where we're going to go to for the rest of the year is the slowdown has stopped. That orange line, you can see it went from really fast to way up here, and now it's stopped, and it is underneath of 2019, which it too was a slight seller's market. And you can see in Los Angeles, we went from 78 to a 76-day expected market time, down 2. Orange County from 65 to 63 in the last week, down 2. Riverside from 77 to 74, down 3 days in the last week. San Bernardino from 88 to 86. They were actually in balanced market for a little while. They hit like 90. Now they're down to 86, down 2. San Diego went from 61 to 58. It's just under the hot level, down 3. And Ventura's went from 54 to 52, down 2. And I want to clarify something before I wrap everything up, and that's this. Everybody's throwing this at me, and I've seen it across the board, and it's from somebody that I totally love. Home prices fell for the first time in 3 years last month, and it was the biggest decline since 2011. And this is actually taken from Black Knight. Black Knight is fantastic. I love Black Knight and all their data, but understand that they have a model that they stick everything in and they're able to get you what the home values are, kind of like Zillow, across the country in all different markets. Now, understand this, that even though they have this aggregate thing, yes, values kind of have sunk down a little bit, but I'm going to talk about why. There was froth in the system. As a matter of fact, from about when everything was crazy starting January 1st all the way up until May, there was a lot of froth. And during this time where we had an issue of interest rates growing in the background at the same time that there was nothing on the market and demand was there. So a lot of people ignored the economic fundamentals. And I was telling everybody, do not overpay for your houses at the beginning of the year. They were continuing to overpay for houses at the tune of 50, 100,000, and heard 200,000 or even more above the asking price and setting these all-time record highs in neighborhoods. Now, here's I want you to understand what I'm referring to as why values may have come down a little bit. And the algorithms will pick up on this, but they will stop after we get rid of this frothiness that transpired at the beginning of this year. Here's what the issue is. There's a home that sold over in that development over there in February for $1 million. Now, a totally different neighborhood, different track, but very, very similar home and similar appeal, all that. It sold $100,000 above the asking price and closed in June for $1.1 million. Now, lately, a few other homes have come on the market, and know that $1.1 million was a frothy sale. This is why I said people shouldn't overpay for houses once I started to see that interest rates were going up. Now, there's a new home that came on the market over here, listed at $1.1 million, thinking that's what they got, my neighbor got, so I'm going to get $1.1 million. Now, a similar home over in this other neighborhood over there, listed their home similar to the one that closed in February at $1 million. So they too are at $1 million. Now you see the difference. There's the 1.1 and the 1 million, almost identical properties. If you're a buyer looking around, which one are you going to purchase? You're going to purchase the one for $1 million. Yes, way up from 2 years ago. However, that froth, they won't buy it at the frothy price that was set on the close that happened in June. So that property that was extra frothy actually has to come back down to the $1 million mark or somewhere right close to that. So know that is what's happening with frothy sales, and this is going to take place until we get more sales within all the developments, and then we'll have that baseline. As far as some things that I am fearful of, I don't like median sales price. Median sales price is the middle value, and it changes from month to month, and June is almost always the height as far as the median sales price is concerned, and then it comes down, and people talk about it. CoreLogic does it nationally, and then everybody runs with it, this median sales price. I'm not a fan of median sales price. It just does not really tell you what values do. So on that month-to-month basis where you hear about median, that's not really home values. It kind of gives you a flavor, but that's all. I kind of refer to it as a broken thermometer. And average is even worse than median. That just gives me chills down my spine. So know that today it's a slight seller's market. Know that this is a much more normal kind of market where there is a stickiness to prices. Homeowners do not want to reduce their asking price. And quite frankly, if they don't get their price, they're going to pull their homes off the market, which is why we're seeing a lot of cancellations and expirations up 180% compared to last year for the first 2 weeks of August. And it behooves everybody to scrutinize the comps and carefully price their homes according to the fair market value, and not just look in your neighborhood if there's a frothy sale, but look outside at other neighborhoods as well. And know that because homeowners are sitting in a really good spot, they have a good job, they have good credit, they have a good interest rate, they're not moving. As a matter of fact, 12% of 12% fewer for sale signs this year, and it beats last year and even the COVID year of 2020 of fewer homeowners coming on the market compared to the 3-year average prior to COVID. Prior to COVID, every year we kind of placed the same number of homes on the market every single month, every single year. And now it is off by 12%, which is gigantic. There's a big hole in the number of homes, and it's gaining momentum. So a lot of homeowners are simply saying, shoot, man, I'm just going to sit back and drink my coffee and enjoy my home and enjoy my loan. And I think it was Calculated Risk. Bill, who runs Calculated Risk, came up with the term gosh, what was that? It was, sellers are on strike. I think that's absolutely apropos. They might want to move because they want a different location or want to change jobs or want to do something, but they're not because they are in love with their mortgage, their low payment. If you want a copy of this, you have to be a subscriber. And you can go to reportsonhousing.com to subscribe. And shoot, I have a report that's all over Southern California. We're still working on the Bay Area. I hope to get that out within the next week. And it's covering up this, but if you subscribe, it's $15 per month or $150 per year. You get the first month free if you sign up utilizing the coupon code PRICE. So utilize the coupon code PRICE. We'll send you a copy of the report as well. And the most recent report that just came out this week, San Bernardino Riverside, you get theirs this coming up Monday. Low supply versus low demand. It's kind of this, like they're duking it out. So I'm showing you through metrics and talking about it in layman's terms so you understand what's going on. And there's a free content section at reportsonhousing.com. The latest one is out. It's called there's the scoop that we put together on a monthly basis for all of SoCal. And you can take a look at it. You can actually download it for free and post it and utilize it. And it's right over here. This is the most recent one. That's all I have. So I just want to thank everybody for being with me. Oh, but I do have a special guest. For those of you that have to go, then fine, go. But I have a special guest you're not going to want to miss. Holy cow, who's this? Who are you? Ezekiel? Hi. Do you have anything you have to say to everybody?
Okay.
What?
I love Nana coming over.
Oh, did Nana visit with you?
Mm-hmm.
Did you love having Nana come over?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that is fantastic.
I love Nana taking me to the park, also playing paint with me.
She took you to the park and played paint? That is fantastic.
And Play-Doh.
And Play-Doh? Wow, you had a lot of fun, huh? Pound it. So say goodbye to everybody.
Bye.
Well, that's another housing debrief. This is a wrap. So have a fantastic finish to your week. We'll see you next week. We'll see you on the other side of this weekend. Have a fantastic